over here, Izzy.
Go.
So, I wanted to touch on a little sensitive subject today. So, I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to come on in. I just wanted to remind everybody about the grand opening of the retreat at the plaza tomorrow. I hope everybody can come. It's a ribbon cutting at 3 p.m. and we'll be having tours from 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. Throughout the day, and we're using CDC precautions, so everybody make sure to bring a mask. So I wanted to touch depth today about domestic violence, abuse in general, because I'm sure we've all experienced a little something in our lifetime. So, what are there types of abuse are there? There's neglect, there's psychological, emotional, financial, even being discriminated against is a type of abuse. So, Izzy, knowing that you've dealt with abuse in your life, um, what effects did you go through actually dealing with this type of abuse? And if you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, there's a lot of things that can be said and done as far as like abuse goes. Definitely being knowledgeable of what's going on and having acceptance is something that is near and dear because due to processes during my life, my journey, I ended up having to find myself in the process of figuring out about the abuse and having acknowledgement on it.
Okay. So, you also being the abuser and the abusee, you've dealt with both. Um, what type of effects did you go through as an outcome from this?
Well, the outcome definitely came down to my self esteem, panic attacks, that acceptance piece of is it happening, is it not realizing. And pretty much I turned into a rebel. And for many years throughout my life, I didn't want to accept it, but, you know, I just became rebellious until, one day I ended up getting kind of like a smack back to reality. And then once I got that, I started working with myself and then with others.
Okay. I mean, for me personally, the effects were the biggest thing that I dealt with after, going through some pretty traumatic abuse. Um, I mean, I suffered from PTSD after this, depression. I disassociated myself from everybody. I hid away. So I can totally understand, the self-esteem aspect that like you have gone through, going through this on both ends. Um, I mean, it even led to fatigue, shaking. I mean, sometimes I still even get a little nervous when I get a knock on the door, but those are all associations that I took away um, with PTSD from the abuse that I had gone through. So, is there anything you do to um, uplift yourself after being, the abuser in a domestic violence relationship?
Yeah, I had to come to a realization and acceptance of my own trauma in my journey and having to come in and having to try to figure out who I was. And I pretty much developed through this journey coping mechanisms. And those coping mechanisms definitely, and boundaries, have played a big part into it. Um, Grounding myself, positive affirmations, looking myself in the mirror and kind of more or less telling myself I am not the label that everybody wants to give me. I'm something different. And just because my journey came with a couple of bumps doesn't mean that I can't change as a person for the better, for my family and myself.
And I taught myself a little saying that I kind of picked up along the way. It's treat yourself like you're valuable, and you will begin to feel like you're valuable, which kind of really stuck with me, really resonated with me. Um, so, what are ways that you've healed um, on both ends of the spectrum? Could you kind of split the two, either being the abusee or the abuser?
I mean, it more or less comes down to the realization and coming to terms with the reality of the fact that either you're being abused or you're abusing, or kind of like what's happened to me in the past, and it's come to realization that things need to change. Change had to come, because if not, it can be something that becomes not only your persona but your way of life. If not put in check. I had to get put in check, and I ended up going to Nova, which is a great program here in Charlotte, and they've helped me to realize and kind of think about everything as a whole. And that's one of the reasons why I've came back into being who I was, but in a positive way.
Okay. Well, I want to check in with the ones that are viewing with us. Miss Harris, what can you do to help PTSD from abuse? Well, for me, which is a big thing for me, and I still struggle with it um, daily, but I had to embrace my positive outlets. I had to affirm myself that I was in control of my own thoughts, emotions, my attitude, my choices, and my behaviors. I had to basically really rely on self care and teaching myself that what happened to me is fine, but I am not what I was labeled as. I am not this, um, domestic violence. I don't like to refer to it as victim. I'm a survivor. Um, and you really have to change those negative thoughts, those negative feelings. Um, and even if you start with something small, every day it builds and grows into something way better. So that's really actually helped me in a positive direction towards actually containing that post traumatic stress that I still to this day have to worry about and manage. So I hope that helps. Um, Izzy, did you suffer any, um, you know, PTSD, depression, any type of issues um, after the abusing had happened? Um, how did your mental state feel after that?
I mean, for me, um, back when I was doing abusing, it was more under the influence of alcohol, and not realizing the hold that alcohol had on me, and me not being able to be self-expressive in a positive way kind of gave that notion of this is the way that I'm going to deal with it, and it was the wrong way to deal with it. Um, as far as PTSD and things like that go, like I felt anxiety, I felt pressure. I mean, it's not easy waking up and then realizing that what you did is really tough. Especially if you don't see it and don't remember it really, you know? And that's when like the realization of everything that's going on, kind of gave me anxiety. I started going through like depression and things like that, because at the end of the day, I really just wasn't educated enough to express myself in a positive way because of all the negativity and the trauma and the addiction that held over me.
And do you think that the alcohol played a huge factor in how you handled your emotions at that time? Like,
Yeah, I mean, alcohol definitely was that number one candidate, because it was like anybody else in a marriage with children and stuff like that. I was quiet about my own issues and my problems. I kind of went about my days with a smile, and just didn't get down to the conversation of what I needed in the relationship and the family to be able to be successful myself. And it came down tumbling with alcohol, because then I was expressing myself in a negative way.
so once you had actually recovered from the addiction, um, what did you do to kind of maintain um, your way of life without being abusive?
Definitely thinking before I act, and just being expressive without having to do it in a negative way. That's definitely, it's kind of like, how can I say, it's kind of like a pressure bottle and you're shaking it and then it just blows up one day. That's pretty much what happened. So what I do is I just alleviate the pressure out the bottle in a positive way. I'm more self-expressive instead of being more enclosed. Communication. I think we talked about that a couple of episodes back too. Yeah, communication. Is definitely that big factor, because at the end of the day, I had to realize that you were my best friend and not my enemy.
Right. I can totally resonate with the soda bottle being shooken to the point where it just basically pops when you open it. So I totally can resonate with that. I'm sure you know this. So I want to check in with our viewers. Miss Skylar, hello, good afternoon. We hope you are well. Let's see. Mr. Allen, he's saying good afternoon. PTSD has been one of his biggest challenges to face, and he's doing it successfully. That is amazing, Alan. I'm so happy to hear that. So I kind of want to move into a little different direction, because I know domestic violence can get really heavy. It can really bring up, past traumas, can actually spark PTSD, even if it's not your story, because everybody's recovery is different and everybody's journey is different. I kind of want to move over towards our children, Izzy, on a lighter note. How has it been since you've totally done a shift in life and changed, a lot of aspects and bettered yourself? So on a lighter note, what are the happiest things and things you actually enjoy now with your children, now that you don't have to worry about court cases and stress and all that good stuff?
Well, definitely made a big difference in what's going on. My kids are a lot happier. They're more enjoyful of the time that we spend together, because it's really changed up that dynamics of the entire family. Me kind of coming to light with the realization and acceptance of what happened. It's in my past. It's still with me, but I'm in a positive direction with it. And my kids see that. And when they see that, it kind of like draws them in more than when I was kind of being a pissant and like just moody all the time. So it's definitely changed up a lot.
Yeah, because I know when we were going through everything we went through, um, I noticed, the kids were a lot more, you know, anxious, a lot more um, aggressive with their friends, that type deal. Um, their self worth was a lot lower. Um, but now through, and I have to give it up to everything we went through because I don't think we would be in this positive direction that we are in today. Um, but
No, definitely. I'm with you on that. I mean,
yeah,
darker days bring brighter tomorrows. And that's one thing that I love to say. And it's near and dear because, my darker past brought a brighter day.
I love your saying. Mine's always even broken crayons make beautiful colors. I think we both have our little quips and sayings. So, do you have any advice for people dealing with DV or going through DV?
I mean, I could talk for the men's side, and that would possibly be, action has consequences, and either they're going to be positive or negative, and it's really up to the individual that has coping mechanisms and has all these things that I ended up getting through step court that made a difference in my family and in me personally. But definitely that research and acknowledgement of what's going on is real, and to not make it a norm. And that's where I made the mistakes. But like I said, through all of the journey that I've gone through, it's definitely helped me to open up my eyes and realize that what I was doing was wrong. But it took that acceptance piece too. That's something that we were actually talking about with one of our family members at the hub. Acceptance and change. And I couldn't be in a better group at that time. So how about you?
Um, and then my little piece of advice that I can give to women dealing with domestic violence or just abuse in general. Kind of gonna reiterate on it. You really have to embrace positive outlets, positive affirmations to yourself, that you are in control of everything, your thoughts, your emotions, and just to treat yourself like the value you are. You are truly valuable. And it's okay to get help if you need to get help.
Mhm.
Um, boundaries and self-care are truly my saving grace coming out of this situation. But I think our marriage is even better than ever. So, I mean, everything in life happens for a reason sometimes. Um, so, when you were committing the DV, and I'll answer this for my side as well, what did you lose because of DV? Um, it can either be mentally, and what certain things kind of still affect you or trigger you to this day.
Are you asking me like how I felt during the
Yeah, it's kind of like a two-parter question. So, what did you lose because of DV, and does it still affect you to this day, or what could trigger you to this day?
with DV? For me, I lost myself. Lost my mind. I lost myself at that specific moment. As far as being triggered, I'm not triggered. only because I've worked on myself for so many years, and it takes time and effort and that self-care piece to be able to say that. And it's difficult to be able to say that. Um, but as far as during, I remember more waking up than doing. So waking up was more like a smack to reality, and then making those phone calls to try to figure out what happened, the mistake you made. And it's really, from how I was raised in Chicago, not by my parents, because my parents are phenomenal, they're great. It was more or less the lifestyle that I chose growing up. Gangs and just bad crowds. It didn't seem like there was any boundaries or repercussions for actions when you're hanging out with a crowd like that. So that mentality kind of seeped over into adulthood.
So, do you think a little part of it was because of how you were raised, and not quite just all alcohol, that kind of sparked you to want to,
No, it's more or
lose
less
your
the
water habit,
environment. It's your environment that makes a big difference. Um, because I had a choice on rather to be, the straight and narrow, or I had the choice to be the rebel bad boy. And earlier on in my life, I chose that. And that's why I kept making mistakes, because I didn't know anything different. And once I was educated, once I was able to have that acceptance, that change, for me, is the realization of everything was not okay.
oh, okay. So, what still kind of affects you till this day because of it?
The way it affects me is I'm still working on me and working on the relationships surrounding me. Um, but it's been nothing but good since I started doing good. It's kind of like that saying, do good, get good, do bad, get bad. So I've just been in a positive route, and that's one of the major factors in my life, is staying on that positive route and looking further than that I can see. Honestly, I try to see a positive future.
Okay, so I'll swing it back around to me, and I can answer, that question as well. Um, I mean, I lost some major things actually going through it. My self worth being one of those things. Um, for a long time there, I, blamed myself for everything that was, happening. I was sending myself emotional blackmail, if you want to look at it that way. I was, basically fighting in my head. Um, and I never told myself it was okay to get help. I thought it was just one of those things, oh, tomorrow will be better. But that's when, people stepped in to help us. I wish we had, kind of woken up and realized it sooner. It took a major shift in our life, to get where we are. But if you embrace the change and embrace the help, it is truly a remarkable experience to live life, um, in a positive outlet and in a sober one. Um, I can't even remember when that way used to be. I mean, am I right, Izzy? I mean, I
Yeah,
just,
definitely. Being in a combative relationship is something that you don't realize you're in until it's almost too late.
yeah, and I mean, some things still do affect me till this day. But that communication piece is rolling right back around, and we always work it out and come up with solutions for everything. But even till this day, I see a movie with something abusive, that can even spark up my PTSD and make me remember memories and feelings. And so I still, to this day, struggle with a little bit. I try to um, recollect myself, put on my suit of armor before I leave the house every day, but um, it all ends up working its way out in the end. So let's move into the ending part of it. What are ways that you have healed from the abuse, and what ways do you continue to use to heal from it?
Well, the coping mechanisms are definitely one of them. Grounding myself, positive affirmations, music therapy, smell therapy. I'm not flexible for yoga, but those are some of the things. And then just going to do like things I used to not do but did. During the addiction and the DV and all that stuff, I more or less self isolated a lot, so I didn't do anything besides drink, work, drink. That's about it. Um, but now I'm into like fishing and hiking and trying to help other people in the same situation that I'm in or something similar, even if it's a different journey. It gives me that positivity to keep going if I'm able to help.
I want to check in with our viewers. Miss Harris asked another great question, and I appreciate you guys being vulnerable and sharing your experiences. That it's not just one-sided. Everybody deals with something. What is the best way to rely on self-care and survive from domestic violence when it's a recent occurrence and you are not out of crisis? It's okay to get help. It is okay. We do have a warm line that you are more than welcome to call and chat if you need to. It's free, it's confidential. There's therapies, there's things you can do, but if you're not willing to do the clinical side, which we weren't big fans of either, it's that boundary. It's that boundary piece that we always talk about. It's that communication piece. And if it's physical to the point where it's something that is dangerous or causing harm, it's okay to get help.
Oh yeah, I'd say get help because that just means that both parties need help. My wife, Karen, needed help. She got it, and in return, I got help too. It wasn't, the help that anybody wants, but it's the help that I needed. And once again, through acceptance and change, it really helped me in the long run to not be so, how can I say, against what the court system was trying to do for me. I just didn't realize it at that time earlier on in my recovery.
Yeah, when we were going through, just from our personal experience, when we were going through, the recovery courts, we thought we could just fix the domestic violence and stuff, and we thought that we could skate by and still use and stuff, but they truly did play hand in hand with our recovery story and just our life story in general. I noticed that we're a lot more creative as a couple now, in the ways we communicate with one another, and how we handle conflict between us. I don't think we've ever talked so much in our lives. But it's all about that boundary and communication piece. It all starts there. So let's start ending this thing, because I know we could talk about our experiences all day. Um, so now that you are at this positive light, positive ending, what has been the most remarkable change for you since basically shedding that abuser skin and, basically becoming your true self? What have you gotten out of all of this?
I've gotten I've gotten my life back. I've gotten my life back. And wasn't easy. Nothing that makes mistakes and then you have to correct them is ever easy, but I had those tools and I had all those things. So I think I got my life back because I felt, once I was able to say to myself and accept and change, I just felt like I was coming up for air. I just felt like, the air was so much sweeter and everything was so much better. And my relationship, my family, extended family, everything had just changed in just such a different direction that I couldn't ask for anything better. I really couldn't. And, with all these good things that I started learning and I really implemented in my life, great opportunities have come to my life. And this is one of them. Being able to talk to you guys and being on this, webisode, that's what I call it. And being able to be self-expressive and honest and truthful with everyone.
Yeah, for me, I have so much more to look forward to. Vacations, being able to experience new things, new memories. I'm actually able to wake up in the morning and not sleep all day. And it's actually nice to not have to argue with you and deal with any of that anymore. That's increased our relationship and our friendship, if anything. Because I know one thing about us, we were friends before we were husband and wife. So, and I know we do a lot more activities together. So I look forward to those every single day. So I'm going to end with that. And I just want to remind everybody tomorrow we're having at PRN, which is 222 the Plaza, or 2224 the Plaza here in Charlotte. We'll be having a ribbon cutting at 3 p.m. for our new all peer run respite, the retreat. So I hope everybody can come out. They'll be having tours from 2 a.m. or I'm jumping up my words so bad right now.
2, baby.
Nobody's up at 2 a.m. It'll be from 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. They'll be having tours and we're following CDC protocol, guys. So make sure to bring your mask. And on Saturday, we will be having our run for wellness. So you're still eligible to sign up for that until 12 tomorrow. But I hope everybody has a great day. And don't forget, we do have a warm line. Izzy, do you want to close us out with the warm line?
Yeah. So the warm line's free, confidential, 24/7. And the number is 833-390-7728. And just feel free to anything spiritual, emotional. If you just need someone to talk to, just feel free and call. And we'll be there.
And we are also, Izzy and I, on the warm line on the weekends. You can find us there. And don't forget about our welcome desk if you have any questions or need to talk to anyone specific. Miss Kim is amazing. She's there Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And it's 704-390-7709. And we hope you guys have a relaxing rest of your Thursday and an even better Friday. And we'll see you guys next Thursday at 1 o'clock.
All right.
See you later, Izzy.
Bye-bye.